What's up, everybody? I'm Rick Knight. Welcome back to another video here, The Bad Philosopher. This video, I just want to. This is a video response to my friend James, who asked me a couple questions. I like to do video response to people. If you have any questions, just leave a comment, and then I can make a video responding to you. Since I have really not much traffic on my page, that I have the time to make a video response to people. Hopefully, I get so busy in the future that I won't be able to do this. So, okay, let's get to it. James, in one of my videos in the, my video, what was the video? Equality of outcome won't work. He asked me a question. He said, since equality of outcome won't work, what is the best moral system? What should be the goal of humanity? The best moral system, I mean, we can argue over the different types of moral systems that we have. Some people like the Aristotle's virtue vice system. Some people like the Immanuel Kant's obligational duty morality system. I'm into consequentialism. I believe that our consequences, our actions have consequences. When we talk about equality of outcome, why it won't work is because we would be forcing an outcome on people, and it's going to be at the expense of other people. So our actions in that case will be there will be a consequence. Like how do you make someone as successful as that person, right? You would have to take from society, from other people, to give it to that person, to make that person as successful as this person. And there'll be consequences for those actions. You're pretty much going to, step on other people in order to regulate the outcome of other people. It's just not going to work. It doesn't work. Equality of opportunity is works if we do the best we can to have at least a minimum of opportunity for everyone. A minimum level. I mean, obviously, some people will have more opportunity than others. If you're born, into a family that has a lot more money, you're gonna have more opportunity. So, as a baseline, if we can at least have a good opportunity across the board for everyone, that would be better. But equal opportunity, it just doesn't work. And but as far as a moral system, I like consequentialism. I think it's better. Then he also asks, what should be the goal of humanity? The goal of humanity should always be to gain, in my opinion, to gain wisdom and knowledge and understanding through learning, through experiencing things, through good rational thought. Our goal is always to try to find solutions. I mean, we have no choice but to be here. We're going to continue to mate. We're going to continue to have sex and have children and bring other people into the world. So our goal is for humanity should be to make the very best and keep striving for the best that humanity could ever reach, and do the very best to try to create some kind of paradise on earth, which is of course impossible. But the more we strive, the old saying, shoot for the stars or shoot for the moon. If you miss, you're still amongst the stars, or whatever the expression goes. So that's that. Let's go to the next thing. He had questions in. Sorry, I should have been more prepared for this, but it's just a quick video I'm throwing out there. I believe it was in the free speech. Okay, I found it. Let's see. This was in the video, why I'm for free speech, and James asked once again another question. He said, how should Americans balance the values of equal respect and free speech? What role should universities play in protecting and promoting speakers? What are the moral limits of free speech and actions? Okay, how should Americans balance the values of equal respect and free speech? Very simple with the First Amendment. That's it, straightforward answer. We have the First Amendment, and we need to educate our young that the First Amendment is one of the greatest ideas ever invented, and we need to defend it. The reason why is because, again, if you go back to consequences, there's consequences for our actions. If you try to limit free speech, if you try to regulate, put further restrictions on the First Amendment, it's going to have a negative impact on other people. It's a lot easier for us to just not like what someone has to say and move on than to, want to cause all this trouble over it and have people arrested and sent to the gulags and pay fines and fire them and all this nonsense because we just don't like what a person has to say. You know, of course, as long as we're not threatening or inciting violence, then, you know, people have the right to say whatever they want. This whole hate speech stuff, you know, which can't even be defined. What is hate speech? There's so many people who can watch my videos and say that this is hate speech videos. And, you know, it's just, how do you define hate speech? It's basically defined by your feelings, and that's not good. That's why the First Amendment needs to be protected. What role should universities play in protecting and promoting speakers? They should encourage it. They should encourage open dialogue with people with different ideas. I love being around people who have different ideas. I love being around people who don't agree with me. I like arguing with people. I like to have debates with people. I like to get under people's to get on their nerves, to get under their skin because we don't agree on something. I like, you know, to have a civil discourse with you. You know, that's why I'm doing this. That's why I'm making this video response to you, and I'm encouraging people to make, you know, leave comments and I'll respond to them. And, you know, because I like the dialogue. I love free speech, and the universities should be encouraging that. They should fight for the right for the students to have any speaker they want. Now, I can understand certain people you might not want to be there. There's some people, on this earth that are such low morale people. You know, so I wouldn't want them either. I would, you know, Richard Spencer is a clear idea. Although I would fight for the right for a student body to have Richard Spencer at a university to speak, even though I completely dislike him in every sense of the word. But you know, we have to protect free speech. We have to protect the rights of the students who, you know, they form a student body and they follow all the guidelines to have a speaker, and that speaker is going to come and he might have he or she might have a different opinion than the crowd. And we should encourage dialogue. We should encourage people to challenge a speaker that we don't like. We should scrutinize their ideas. That's what we should do, and the university should encourage that, because that's how we get to the bottom of things. That's how we find truth. Okay, let's see. What are the moral limits of free speech and action? The moral limits. Once you start threatening people or inciting violence, it's now immoral speech, and that's why it's not protected. You can be arrested for threatening people. You can be arrested for inciting violence. In a lot of cases, with slandering and defamation of character and stuff like that is also immoral, and these are laws against that. James, if I don't like you for whatever reason and I decide to lie about you and ruin your reputation and say nasty things about you, that's just not true, and it has an effect on you. It's immoral on my part that I'm doing this just because we don't like each other. I don't like you, and I just want to try to make you look bad, ruin your reputation, and I can be sued for it because it's an immoral act. And same thing with the use of force. As a libertarian, we're against the use of force. We stand by the non-aggression principle. Therefore, do not use force against someone. If you don't like what the person has to say, turn it off, walk away, leave the room, challenge them. But you cannot use force against them. You cannot use violence against them. You cannot, you shouldn't try to get them fired and try to boycott them and have them thrown out of their apartment and thrown out of their office and beat up in the street and vandalize their property and all this nonsense. You shouldn't do that. If you don't like the person, then challenge them and make them look stupid intellectually when you challenge them and you scrutinize their ideas and you just beat them. You beat them at the brain game. And that's it. And that's I believe is the limits. Of course, morally speaking, legally is different, but morally, when you are insulting people in your speech constantly, like I love Milo, I really do. I think Milo's entertaining and he's a lot smarter than people give him credit for, and he makes a lot of sense when he talks. But I understand why people don't like him. I understand that he can be a little overbearing, and he is very, very, very insulting in a lot of cases. I've seen a lot of videos, a lot of his public speaking events, and he is very insulting. For me, he's not. I mean, I love it. You know what I mean? I'm that type of guy. But I can understand the people sitting there, people debating with him, and people watching it. And I understand there's a lot of people out there that are just in general very nice people, and they don't like to hear that type of language. It could be like my mom. My mom would never want to hear the stuff that comes out of Milo's mouth. She doesn't really get involved in politics. She just doesn't care. But the cursing, and you know, saying the things he says or whatever. You know, I mean, my mom hates to hear some of the things I say, but you know, she's very, very old school, and she doesn't like to hear cursing around her. So in that aspect, I can see that immorally maybe it's you know, there should be a limit, but then again, you know, to each their own, and I would never, ever want to use force against Milo or shut him down or anything. You know, let him say what he has to say. Let him speak, and let the market decide how we feel about him. That's the moral thing to do. If the market doesn't want him, then he will not be successful. That is the right way of handling it. That is the right type of morality that we should have. As far as his behavior and the things that he says, maybe it is a little bit immoral. You know, I admit it is. But at the end of the day, the moral thing to do is to respect and fight for freedom of speech. And if we don't like what you have to say, again, we are the market, and we just will not buy into your brand. So that's all I have, James. I hope that answers your questions. I hope that was good, a good response from me. You're a very, very, very good friend of mine, so I'm very happy that you let these. Are good questions, and I'm happy that we're having, you know, this back and forth. Thank you very much. I'll see you guys next time.